Hi my friends, this is Deon Terblanche and welcome to the Viditrainer interview show. So if you ever wondered what it will take to develop an app and get it onto the iTunes App Store, how do you fund it? Where do you get the money from? Who does the coding or the software development for you? And once you've done all those things, how do you actually make money from it? Well, we've got a South African developer, Oliver Werneyer from FlyNRate, on the show today to tell us all of that. So welcome back, and as I said before, I'm speaking to Oliver Werneyer. He's one of the guys who recorded, or who developed rather, the app FlyNRate, which is available on the Apple App Store. Oliver, welcome to the interview.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
While I said it's on the Apple App Store or the iOS App Store, is it also available on Android?
Well, we're busy developing that. So with the success we've seen over the last 2-3 months, we are now in the process of updating the business cases and actually going out to the market for second round of funding, and that's looking quite good, which means it should be available on all platforms within the next 3 to 4 months, which includes obviously Windows and BlackBerry. So hopefully we've got some good news on that soon.
Fantastic. That's brilliant news. I mean, the growth that you are showing just since the last time you and I spoke, it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. No, it's been great. And I mean, the one thing is downloads, but what we're really catering for is interaction. And, that has been really great. And just as a small example, we've got a social media component to our app, and that has really taken off with the users that we've had. We have probably up to 10 times the amount of comments and likes and interactions in the app than we actually have users, which really creates good content, which is really good for our business.
I saw that, but let me not put the cart before the horses. Tell us, what is FlyNRate? For those that don't know, what is FlyNRate, and what does it do?
Quite interesting. Well, in its basic form, it's a flight tracker, one part. Then the second part is really gives you the tools to rate the flight, and the third main component allows you to share those ratings with everybody really. You can share it with friends who follow you on it, or you just share it into the public social space, that is Twitter and Facebook. It comes from the fact that me and my two partners are regular travelers as well, and we just found that there's certain components we don't have access to when flying a lot. One of that is, flight tracking. There are a couple of flight trackers out there. The cheapest one is about $3.99, and it really stops you from downloading it, because spending that amount of money always makes you think twice, which is why we made our app free. The second component is, if you have some feedback to give, whether it's good or bad, it's really a mission to get that done. Who do you phone? Who do you email? Other than really vent on your own Twitter account, what can you really get going? And this really brings in a coordinated effort, a standardized feedback. And what we've been seeing now is that people obviously share their ratings. There's an option to share it to Facebook and Twitter. And the one on Twitter is very successful, because now what's happening is that airlines are actually getting back to our users. So the users just publish it to Twitter, and in there it picks up the names for the airlines, and suddenly the airlines start writing back saying, sorry to hear about that, So it actually starts changing the relationship to you basically publishing your feelings and the airline's getting back to you, and you're not running around like a crazy person trying to find out who do you have to chat to. And that was very important to us. Okay. And obviously the social media component just really brings together an environment that you can refer to, that you trust. So you obviously will follow friends or people you like, and really summarizes all that information that will now come through into something that you can trust.
So essentially what I hear you say is that FlyNRate is you mentioned it, it's a flight tracker, but really what it is, people who are flying or traveling, and they would report on their experiences with the airline or with the food or with the staff on the airline. It's that, really, it's making, air travel almost more social, really.
Yeah, in a way it's sort of the TripAdvisor of the flight industry.
Okay.
And the purpose of it really is that everybody has different sort of requests and requirements. I mean, you can, for example, be a very petite person, and then it doesn't really matter which airline you fly with, because every seat for you will be quite big. So
that's maybe you and I, for instance.
No, but maybe for you, then the food will be more important.
Yeah.
So that's something FlyNRate can give you. So who has good ratings on seating? Who has good ratings on food? Because even maybe on short haul, You know, obviously timeliness is more important, and the ease of going through an airport is more important than really the seat, because you know, short haul flight, hour and a half, we can make it through nearly anything short of sort of nails on the seat. But long haul flights, you know, probably seating is 99% of the flight. If you have a bad seat, you know, that sort of ruins it.
Okay.
And that really gives you the tool to choose what is right for you as a flyer.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea. But you know, to do an app, what made you decide to do it in the end? I mean, don't you have a? I almost want to say you are employed already. You know, you have another job, isn't it?
Yeah, but I guess that's entrepreneurial nature in myself. Is that you know, ultimately I will look to do something myself. It's, you know.
Okay.
I have a full-time employment, which actually gives me the opportunity to pursue this. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to pursue it on a 24-hour basis, but it gives me that security. You know, I know I have an income in the background, and it really helps me build up to this. Luckily, I'm not alone in this. I've got 2 partners, so we all work on it, so we share the load. Plus, we have an amazing IT company we work with, and they really carry a lot of the work. So in that sense, it's important. It was important for us to find a good partner who's really enabled us to do this. Even both my other partners also have full-time employment.
Okay.
So it really is, you know, some people have the guts to just leave their work and do something full-time. I think luckily this app opportunity has allowed us to stay in full-time employment while we develop this. And who knows, maybe with the second or even third round of funding comes through, who knows, maybe I'll quit my job, but it definitely is exciting times.
No, that's brilliant. Speaking of funding, you know, to develop an app, obviously you spoke about your IT company that helped you out with this, but, you know, the total funding in itself, how did you go about this? You didn't start out by getting funding, of course. You had to start almost funding it yourself, didn't you?
Yes, it was a combination of own funds and then ultimately a bank loan. So we went out and so we put together this business case. So one of our partners is an accountant, so we obviously had very nice things like income statements, balance sheets. So from a financial point of view, exactly, it looked quite snazzy. So what was good for us is that we went out, we said, okay, well, we have X amount that we can put in as a personal contribution. And then we went to the banks and said, look, you know, we really want to do this. Here's our business case. This is how we're going to make money. And this is why we think you should borrow this to us. And, you know, we ended up having a bank, which was HSBC, and they said, yeah, we like the idea. Go ahead. Here you go. Here's the amount. And that allowed us really to develop the first platform, website, and then obviously some of the bits around in terms of logo design and email signatures and all that kind of jazz. It was really great experience, but something we've realized, especially in the app business, because there are so many, advertising is absolutely critical. And I think we've a bit underestimated the cost of that a bit, which is why we've gone into the market for a second round of funding, and that'll probably make up about 60% of the fundraising amount. Is really for advertising and getting it out there.
Getting the word out.
Yeah, not just getting the word out, it's really getting the face of the user. It's, you know, these days you get bombarded with so many things that you sort of have an automatic filter on, and it's really about advertising at the right places. So we should be advertising at places like Expedia and the airline websites, and all of that costs money. And the problem is not the actual cost. You know, maybe we or somebody else can chat about click-through rates and CPMs and stuff like that. That is not the problem. The problem is the minimum amount. So as an example, Expedia, although you basically pay like 11p a set, so R1.20 a click.
Yeah.
So if nobody even clicks, you don't even pay, which is not even that bad. You have to spend at least $10,000. So it's the minimum spend that really gets you on these websites.
I can imagine. Now, you said your app is free, and obviously you are also getting the funding in. So how are you going to be making money with this app then?
Yes, that was a very interesting discussion we've had, because initially we started out wanting to charge for the app much less than our competitors, and research showed that it's really the Apple users are willing to pay. Once you move to Android or BlackBerry or even Windows now, those people just want free apps. So we spent some time thinking about how do you commercialize an app, and we really felt that hasn't really been done so well in the market. I mean, at the moment, people make money through both download amounts and in-app downloads. So from a concept called freemium model, so where you give the app for free and then you basically buy all these upgrades, and advertising. That's basically what people have been sticking to. And we thought that, you know, that really has limited income unless you're like the producers of Angry Birds and you have a hit like that. So we said, okay, let's think about it as a business. So there must be other ways of commercializing it. And I mean, 2013 really is the year of big data. So that's why we added the social media component. We actually only added the social media component about 9 months after starting the project, and was around the time that Instagram got sold.
Okay.
And what that sell of Instagram for nearly $1 billion to Facebook showed is that users and content has value. Okay, so just having an app that lots of people download, okay, gives you a user base. But once you convert that into activity, that activity is worth a lot of money. Because Instagram itself, the software, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it sold for very little. It must have been, I think it was under $50,000. So part of that $900 million that Facebook paid, very little was paid for the actual software of Instagram. The rest of the money went because of the content it was creating in terms of pictures for Facebook, and it had 20 or so million users at that point in time. Hence, we basically said, okay, let's do the same thing. That's why we're so happy that the social media component is going so well. It creates a lot of content. But most of the money we really want to get through a host of offerings that are very specific to the time you spend flying. One is the ratings. Now, airlines conduct polls as they are, really inefficiently. So they pay a lot per rating that they're trying to get. They try and select people. They have to print out something. It's really a labor-intensive job. And what we are offering the airlines is a much more efficient way of getting that.
Probably a more accurate reflection of what people are really thinking.
It is, and that's what we wanted to provide, a sort of an independent person. Because if an airline asks you, what did you think of this? You know, if you're going to give them a shit rating, are they really going to get back to you? Or are they really going to care about this, or throw it away in the dustbin and make the average ratings look good? Because when you go on these airlines' website, everybody has 5-star rating. It just by definition can't be happening. And one of the websites we looked at when developing our app was called Skytrax, and they do some airline rating. The problem is that they don't have a lot of them, and somehow every airline has 5-star rating. Turns out you can buy like rating points. I mean, what's the point of that again? Okay, anyway, so it's more of an independence part. So we actually sell the ratings data on an anonymized basis to the airlines. We don't sell names or email addresses because we basically don't even collect that in the app, purely for our users' data protection.
Okay.
Because as users ourselves, I hate giving out that information. But we are developing follow-up commercial aspects to it. So, for example, we offer airlines follow-up sort of questionnaire. So let's say, for example, you went through your flight, and the only thing that was really bad was the food. Now, generally, when the airlines follow up, they send you like this follow-up questionnaire with like 50 questions on seat and check-in, with which you didn't have a problem. So what we're going to offer airlines is a focused follow-up. So we can say, look, you obviously had a problem with your food. Now, let's only ask the people about the food. So we ask them another 5 questions just about the food, which makes you as a user more likely to answer because it's about an issue
that you had a problem with. Yeah.
Exactly. If you don't have a problem with it, we're not going to ask you a question about it. So that's another source of income. And then we're working on other things that, for example, trip-based travel insurance we're going to move into, so that if you haven't taken out anything, it's very quick. So how you pay, you can possibly do it through your iOS account, and that's where you make stuff like commission, and that way we can keep that free for the user because we need the user to use it. Okay. And we make the money outside of the App Store. And this is where I think we are very sneaky, and if Apple saw this, they wouldn't like us too much, is that what you need to remember is that any App Store takes 30% fee of your income. So if you sell your app, they take 30% of that. Now, all of our money, well, most of our money, if not all of it that we're making, is outside of the App Store.
Not
so
the App Store.
It gives us 30% extra, just in money that we don't have to give to the App Store. And that is really worth doing,
No, I think it's a fantastic idea. The way you've gone about monetizing this, and even your future plans, for instance, this insurance thing, I think that's absolutely brilliant. And as you said, then of course you'd need to take up by the users. You need a number of users using this, because that's when your data will be better for the airlines and for yourself, of course.
exactly.
So tell me about this whole process of getting an app, approved by the App Store, by the Apple App Store. Because I've heard that they are quite tricky, they are quite difficult and very very serious about the quality of the apps that they actually approve.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a black box, to be honest. I think you basically program the app, you submit it, and then 10 days later you find out whether it's approved or not. But sort of the guidelines they give on the developer page really is that on the commercial side, so if you charge money, it's not allowed to crash. So they test that quite vigorously. So if you don't charge money through the actual app store, through your iTunes account, they do test it and make sure that nowhere does a payment get suspended in space where you want to pay for something, then it crashes halfway through, so then this money sits sort of booked on your account, but it doesn't go off. So they really want to make sure the user doesn't get irritated by it. They don't really care too much about crashes because that's your personal brand aspect, but they don't want it to influence the relationship that the user has built with their iTunes account. So that's why they focus on the payment aspect of it. So if you generally have a free app where there's nothing that costs anything, you basically get the approval probably within 4 days.
Yeah.
And I assume they've got automatic programs that look for the code, and you get very quick approvals. We have the in-app downloads of the expense tracker and another one, and that's where it gets stuck. And then they say, okay, how is this going to screw up the iTunes? And then all they do is they test it. If it works smoothly, you have no problems. I mean, we had our approval, our first one approval in 6 days, which even the developer said was quite surprising. But I find that it's a bit of a black box. You send it and you hope for it, and we haven't had any bad news yet. So yeah.
But really what happened was you guys came up with the idea and then you went out to find an app developer. It's not as if you started with some basic development or coding or anything. You had to go out and find somebody to do the real development of the app, the software for you basically.
Yes, and it was a bit of a, we were very lucky in that sense. That, I mean, myself, I'm from an actuarial background, so really finance. One of the other partners is a chartered accountant, also finance. Another partner is a quantity surveyor, so no programming skills in that at all. So we knew we've got this idea, we think it's great, now what? So it was literally as easy as one day I went to work, said to my wife, can you please just find out like a couple of names
Google app developers for me, please.
Exactly, yeah, because we just moved to the UK and everything, so she had some time at home, and she sent me a list of actually only like 3 or 4 names. She said she'll look more later. I emailed the first person, they didn't respond, so I actually phoned them. The second people I emailed, they said, oh, they're full. And then the third one was the ones that we're using, Archenia Technologies, and they've been amazing. So it's really, it was meant to be, and we're really happy about that. And it was really, it's a company in India. It's been working out so well. A really good company. It was just, it was meant to be.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a brilliant story. I like the fact that you came up with the idea and then you went out to find the skills required to make this happen. I mean, you didn't let that stop you. Even having moved to a new country, that didn't even stop you. You still went ahead with your idea and you made it happen. I think that's a fantastic story.
Yeah, and it's been a long time coming, to be honest. I mean, you know that from when we worked together. I even had an idea then, and it's one of these things where I think I have a lot of ideas, and this was the first one that I really pulled through. For whatever reason, I just decided, well, I had a lot of ideas. This one has to be it now, and it really took quite a push. And luckily, I had the good partners that really took this idea forward with me. So it's been great.
You're right, of course. I mean, you and I have known each other for a while, and the one thing that I would say, having known you for a little while, and of course, I'm not, we were not housemates or anything, but we've known each other in a professional sense. My view was always that you are quite entrepreneurial in your nature. Would you say that's true, and would you say that's a requirement for anybody who wants to obviously do something on his or her own?
I'm an entrepreneur to the core, definitely. Really, from my dad's side. I mean, he's also self-employed and does his own thing. He's probably had like 3 or 4 companies in his lifetime. Even I started my own company when I was 16, a computer sales company, which I had until I was 24. I think for me, the initial problem was once I was full-time employed, was making that jump into entrepreneurial side, because you always feel that, oh, you need to spend a lot of time on things to really give it the time of day. So you always feel torn between being full-time employed and spending the right amount of time on the actual ideas that you have. And I think that's what delayed it for me to really implement any of the ideas. To be entrepreneurial in nature, to come up with these ideas, I don't think so. I think in today's environment, you need to be observant more than entrepreneurial. There are basic needs that you can these days sort of meet just by actually recognizing that niche or that opening that is there. So I would say people that are vigilant and commercial in nature will be good entrepreneurs. Good entrepreneurs are the people who absorb. And I always have to think back to that Defending the Caveman show. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah,
you know, he always does this. You know, always looking, always scanning. And I honestly think that's what the entrepreneur today is. I mean, neither of the three partners that are in FlyNRate are from the flight environment.
Yes.
It's really, or industry. We just fly a lot, and we basically saw there's a lot of things that we had issues with, and it was about converting that into an idea that, well, first of all, we bought into, and then we think other people will buy into. And I think that's the important message for entrepreneurs out there, is that don't worry about which industry you're going into. If you studied law, you don't have to be an entrepreneur in law. Just that's exactly it. Most of the entrepreneurial and most of the development and innovation comes from outside of the industry, because these are the people who are not sort of educated into a view of that industry. And that's why, you know, don't be scared to go out into other branches and think what people are going to say, but I don't have a qualification. It doesn't matter. You know, normally come up with
what I hear you say is it really starts with, you know, looking or finding something that people need, you know, and then creating something that they could use to scratch that itch almost. I think it's Steve Jobs who said that if you create things that people will use, you know, your life will never be the same. And this is pretty much what you guys did.
Yeah. Well, that really is the aim. It's, you know, a lot of things these days, people want to create something that looks amazing or is really cheap or whatever the reason is that they do it, but they sometimes forget the end user. If the user doesn't like it, it's not going to happen. And that's something we've really been focusing on in our app. I mean, as an example, it's got no advertising in at the moment. We might introduce something later, but that would maybe only be in the social media aspect, where you are in that frame of mind of sharing information, viewing what other people are doing. Within the app itself, it's going to be as clean and simple as possible so that the user can get in and out of the app as quickly as possible. And maybe as a, let's call it a non-app expert, which I think still includes us, but you would think that, yeah, but you want people to spend as much time as possible in the app. And I would say that is true if your income is based on advertising, because then you need FaceTime. Yeah. But the point is exactly that. People hate that. I mean, you get bombarded with so much advertising. So you have to figure out a way of engaging people that does not annoy them. And I think that's what we spent a lot of time on. The aim of our app is so that you go in, you can load a flight in 10, 20 seconds, and then you're out, and it lets you know if a flight is delayed. Then you go in and rate it in under 30 seconds, and then you publish it. And that is that. And people might think like, but how do you make your money? But it's exactly because of that people will like using it, because it's fast, easy, and it doesn't waste their time. And then you get way more value out of it down the line. And I think that's what entrepreneurs need to recognize today, is that user acceptability and user enjoyment should be the priority, especially on the apps.
Yeah. Oliver, I'm sorry, I don't know if you heard in the background, I had a bit of a gardening issue here. Anyway, we can go ahead with our interview. That's one of the beauties and pleasures of you know, working from home. Sometimes you get these little incidents.
Okay.
Listen, this is the time that I usually take just to say that to our viewers, if you're not a subscriber to Viditrainer yet, you know, we get guys and entrepreneurs like Oliver who talk to us about, you know, their entrepreneurial journey and the products they create. So if you're not a subscriber yet, please do go ahead and become a subscriber. You can see it on the website itself at viditrainer.co.za, and the link will be below this video. Oliver, to get back to you, I think the one thing that I'd like to ask you, and I know that you have a lot of advice here, so maybe we can follow this up at some stage later, with an interview specifically suited or geared for that. But what advice would you give at this stage to a budding entrepreneur or let's say a budding software developer? I mean, you're a South African guy who started with an app, obviously with your actuarial background, and I think what I'm getting to is what have you learned, and what advice would you give to somebody who wants to do what you did now at this stage?
I think the advice would be is to be creative. I think the environment has never been more suitable to being open to creative solutions. The app environment is there. People's mind are open for innovation. I don't think there's ever been a better time for that. So don't be scared to come up with a creative and unique solution. There are tools to solve that, and people looking for new ways of solving a problem. So if you have a good idea, just start chatting to people. I think that's the other thing. People are so scared other people are going to steal their idea. I think the fact that you have an idea and you're starting to chat people puts you in that 5% bracket of people out there who are actually willing to do anything. So, I mean, you will know your friends who the entrepreneurs are, and I'm not saying avoid them. I'm just saying don't be scared to talk to people about the idea, and don't be scared to get criticism for your idea, because ultimately, if you get it early enough and you can iron out issues, it'll just be so much, it'll be so much more well received out in the market. And I think for me, those would be two or three suggestions: is really keep your eyes open for things that are even that you might not be an expert on. Don't be scared to just go out and talk to people about it, and then just sort of get into things. So start with something basic. Start with, okay, let me start a website. Let me start blogging. Before you even do like the major idea, people always think they have to deliver Microsoft from day one. I mean, even Microsoft didn't start like that. Microsoft also started in a garage. So start small steps, just get going. And I found that once we got going, once we registered our email addresses, once we registered the web domain and designed a website, bought a template, even in the beginning, don't have somebody design a website for thousands of rands. Just buy a template for like 400 rand and get it on there and put some wording in it. You'll find the inspiration once you have to put content to the website and what you do, and you think of different things, and it really gets you going. And those would be my three main sort of suggestions to budding entrepreneurs out there.
I think the one that I heard loud and clear is Goya. Somebody once said to me, "You gotta have Goya," and I said to him, "What's that?" And he said, "Get off your ass and start."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Oliver, if somebody before we get to where they can reach you, because we will put the link to FlyNRate and the app where they can actually download it from the App Store. We'll put it down below this video. Yeah, but before we get to that, what are you currently busy with?
Busy with in terms of FlyNRate?
With FlyNRate, I mean, it's been an app that it's gone a while now. And what are the things that you guys are actually focusing on with FlyNRate now? I remember in the beginning of this interview you mentioned you are focusing on the social aspect and all of that. But having an app in the App Store that's doing quite well, what are you guys busy with now at this stage?
We are busy basically developing let's call it the media side of things. So we're going out to raise the funds from venture capitalists or angel investors to put in advertising. And it's not just advertising as in, hey, here's our app. It's really in marketing the app and marketing the components. We are going to enhance the website to actually feed off the data that people are rating. So you can see aggregate ratings for airlines, information for people to use, information for Google to find. We're going to enhance that website for the travel insurance. And we don't want to just become a travel insurance company that sells you something. It will be a unique experience, and it'll be integrated to the app. So we're working a lot on that. And then basically marketing that, and not just saying, please download our app, you can rate flights, but really saying, here's the experience that will change the way you fly. And this component, this expense tracker, yes, it costs money, but this is what it does, and this is how it works, and this is why you want to be connected like this, and this is why you want to be sharing this, and this is what the airline's been saying. So really get the communication out there, get the excitement out there, and get the buy-in from the users. So that is our main focus, is creating a suite that is very specific to your flying experience, and not just go out and start selling I don't know,
stuff.
Like tires or something.
Yeah.
We probably could make money, but the point is that, again, the experience has to have context. Once you move out of that context, people lose their way. And I think that's something we're going to be very focused on, is that what do we offer in terms of monetization that is still within the experience of flying? So I'm not saying we're going to do it, but it would be more likely for us to sell, let's say, like these cushions or noise-canceling earphones, or seat cushions or something like that has something to do with flying, rather than just go out and, sell homemade stuff. Like, we probably could make some money. It's just, but it would confuse the user, I think. It would be, okay, what's going on? And that's what we really focus on, is marketing, advertising, and developing the next monetized component of the proposition.
That's a fantastic thought, just keeping your core functionality so as not to confuse the user. I think that's brilliant advice. Would you ever, having gone through this experience, would you ever develop another app? Is that something that you guys would consider?
I think we have 2 or 3 on ice, quite unique ones.
Yeah.
one, maybe it will be just a funny thing, but there's opportunities out there which are really basic. So one of the apps that we're thinking about is actually a swearing app. Now, it might sound funny, but being in the environment that we are often in commuting home in London, you see a lot of people being very frustrated and shouting and stuff. And it's really as basic as you're going to create an online anonymous profile. You can't enter a name or anything, but when you log on, you'll be connected with somebody and you can swear it, but you don't know who it is, so you can't make it personal, and you can vent. And because if you swear to PC, I mean, they can only respond with really standard comments.
They can't punch you.
Exactly. No, and it's like, computerized stuff is never as fun as if somebody really gives you stick from the other end. You really get into it. And it's really about venting. It's really, people will be on there for 2-3 minutes, vent, and then get off. And that's where you do advertising. And the point is exactly that. You can monetize things like this. You just have to understand what you're doing it for. So that was just to give you a flavor of the things you could be doing, which you think would have no point, and you'd be like, oh, what are people going to say? But it's there to meet need, and if you capture that need in the app very nicely, even something like that can make an success. So I'm not saying we were going to make it, but we're playing with ideas along that line. There are other more, let's call them professional apps, but definitely other apps on the horizon.
Okay, well, please let me know about the swearing app first, because I'm not a swearer myself that much, but maybe this would be my valve.
Yeah.
So Oliver, just before we say goodbye, where can our viewers reach you guys? Where can they find where they can find the app itself? I know it's quite a long link, and I'll put that link up down below the video. But where can they reach you, and where can they read more about FlyNRate?
Okay. Just FlyNRate, let's start off with that. I think it's as easy as going into iTunes and just typing in FlyNRate, so FLYNRATE.
Okay.
And it will come up quite easily. It's not on the other app stores yet, so no Windows, BlackBerry, or Android yet. Then, or you make it even easier, you go to www.flynrate.com. There's a link to the iTunes page, as easy as that. On that page is also, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's an About Us section where you can find information on all 3 partners of the company. So Carl, Strempel, Henry Langley, and myself. On top of that, I've got a LinkedIn profile. People can go look at that. I mean, you can get my full name and spelling, as Deon knows the surname. And you might copy from the About Us section to LinkedIn. You should find me, no problem. I'm on Twitter, Oliver Werneyer, one word, so name, surname. And I'm on Facebook. It's I'm reachable through all those
all the social media, and we'll put the links up to those to those social media profiles as well, or at least to your website. Oliver, this has been absolutely fantastic, and thank you very much for agreeing to the interview. You shared so much that I actually think we need to schedule a second interview, maybe where we spend a little bit more time about the entrepreneurial aspects itself. But thank you very much for this. I've really enjoyed it.
No, thanks for the opportunity. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Okay, Oliver. Cheers.
All right.